So we are reading At the Dark End of the Street, Black Women, Rape and Resistance, A New History of the Civil Rights Movement from Rosa Parks to the Rise of Black Power by Danielle McGuire. And our sessions it started June 3rd and they last until July 29th. They are from 6:30 to 8. Stand Your Ground, 1959, Style and Robert F. Williams, local NAACP president, Monroe, North Carolina. Robert F. Williams, local NAACP president in Monroe, North Carolina, who led the defense in the 1958 kissing case, insisted that African Americans stand their ground and defend themselves. Nevertheless, he persuaded a group of angry black women to let the courts handle the case of Lewis Medlin, a white mechanic who attempted to rape Mrs. Mary Ruth Reed, a pregnant black sharecropper, in front of her 5 children, instead of the machine gun approach they favored. When Medlin was found not guilty after a 10-minute trial, the black women with Williams were furious and blamed him for not allowing them to mete out the justice Medlin deserved. We cannot rely on the law, Williams said to reporters at the Medlin trial. We get no justice under the present system. If we feel that injustice is done, we must right then and there on the spot be prepared to inflict punishment on these people. If it's necessary to stop lynching with lynching, then we must be willing to resort to this method. This comment set off a national controversy, and at the 1959 NAACP convention, President Roy Wilkins suspended Williams for his stance. We as men should stand up as protect our women and children, Williams said to NAACP delegates. Do you agree or disagree with Williams' stance? What impact does it have on society when the system of justice does not operate in a fair manner?
Well, my Second Amendment rights myself, so whatever. I exercise my Second Amendment rights. Okay. You walk through these doors, you got a problem.
You agree with William?
I served in the military for 22 years. I'm a law-abiding citizen, but the world just ain't built that way no more, you know?
Yeah. Randy?
Well, I can see why he felt that way, and sometimes reading this book, I feel that way. But I think that at the end of the day, this lynching that they would have, if they, if people would have been down for it, I don't think it would have happened at all. I think the passive and aggressive white men and white mob violence, because it wasn't just white men who went to these lynchings, it was women and children as well. I think that there just would have been another race riot that year, honestly. And I think that black people would have lost because we've seen time and time again that white people can kill without indictment and black people cannot. And I think that the NAACP could have handled it differently, and don't remove him from it, but then that's them doing their respectability politics again. But I think that he spoke out of anger, and he really didn't. He forgot how chaotic this time was and how unfair and ruthless the system was. I don't think the lynchings would have went through even if people had been on his side. I think that it would have just been another race riot of white people killing black people.
Yeah. Have y'all ever read the book The Spook Who Sat by the Door?
I saw the movie.
Yeah, I just watched the movie myself again the other night. I think it was on YouTube or Netflix or something. But it's basically about a black guy who is the first black person to be trained as a CIA agent. And he takes his job real seriously, and he's the best at, in all these different areas. And he stays with them for, I think, 5 years and puts up with the racism, the little snidey comments and whatnot. And finally he leaves and he goes back to his hometown. and he takes a job, which is really a cover, as the head of a social service agency. But in the meantime, he is undercover training, all of these black men in guerrilla warfare. And they're going around and robbing banks and, amassing resources. And it's just a feel-good movie. Isn't it?
It is.
Because the thing is, when you can't count on the justice system, when the justice system is clearly unfair and you're on the short end of the stick, then it really does push you to start thinking about, what am I going to do? How do I get justice? Nobody wants to just be kicked around, slapped around, beaten on as they move through this world. We have a human right to expect a certain level of safety and security and justice. And so when we don't get justice in our legal system, and quite honestly, there's been very little justice for black people in this country, it does create a motivation to seek justice in other ways. So from my perspective, it would behoove all Americans to want to have a just justice system, because I think when you don't, you have people out there who are actually a threat, who are actually potentially planning guerrilla-type activities to get the justice they could not get in the main system. So,
Well, if I may, I believe that not necessarily like the man said in 1958, 59, the NAACP. I think every individual has a right, every group of people have a right to protect themselves. That's in reason, especially when you don't have a system. If I'm out on, I travel up and down the highways all the time, and if I'm out on the highway, as American citizens, as women, if you travel around and you know how the world is, even though my desire is to live in harmony and to flee a situation, I have an obligation to protect my own life and those whom I love. So therefore, I am given that particular right by the amendment to the Constitution. So, I'm like everyone else here, I want to live. And so if I'm out on the highway, I can't count on the justice system that's going to protect me when I travel through Georgia, Alabama, and places like that. And I have to protect myself. And so, I'm going to be, judged by 12 and carried by 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Georgette, anybody else?
Well, I just want to say that I agreed with William's stand, and I love that straight gangster attitude of those ladies.
Yeah, those are my kind of women.
The incidents that have happened in the book so far, you feel some kind of way about it. And thinking back to, my education in public school and Catholic school, and I never heard anything about people, black people standing up and wanting to resist in the South. It was always, oh, they just took it. And then there was, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. So there's always this.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I was in Newark for a long time.
Oh, you were? Okay. So, all right, well, we'll talk about that later. But there's always this idea, or that when growing up, that the people who stayed in the South, they were meek, they were docile, they just took it, and the people in the North would say, oh, well, if that had happened to me, well, I'd have just shot whomever. But it's not, that's not what happened. And in order to achieve the success that they did, to get you to the point where you could say in the North, oh, I'd have just shot someone, they had to use people and these women with this more aggressive style, and I think, this could not be, but this is just my opinion, that the NAACP president said, well, look at Williams there. He wants to do an eye for an eye. Do we want a race riot, or do you want to come over here and talk, and let's discuss it, and do, try a more political, legal approach, what do you want to do here? Which one will be more successful without getting a whole lot of people killed? So that's the only point I wanted to add.
Okay, thank you.